Is there a correct way to wrap the tefillin shel yad? Traditionally, the Ashkenaz custom is to wrap towards oneself, whereas the Sfarad custom is to wrap away from oneself. Is either of these more correct, or are they equally acceptable? Also, should I stop there?
Just one thing at a time.
Yeah.
There is absolutely no indication in any of the ancient and authoritative sources whether one should wrap towards oneself or away from oneself. And I don't see there any reason to prefer one to the other. I think it is entirely a question of what one is used to. If one is used to doing the one and one doesn't want to change, no reason to change either way. And if one wishes to change for whatever reason, one may do so. It really makes no difference. They're equally acceptable.
The next section was, is there a certain number of wraps around the arm that is required or preferred?
Lefi halacha, there is no specific number of wrappings around the arm. There is no source for any such number in any real halachic source. There are Kabbalistic sources for the number of wrappings around the arm to be 7, but there's again no real halachic basis for that. So the answer basically is whatever number of wrappings works for you, that is perfectly fine.
And then the third section was, are there varying customs? There are varying customs about the wrapping on the hand and around the fingers. Is there a correct way to do this, or are all customs equally valid and acceptable?
Again, there is no indication, there's no discussion in the Talmud, in the Geonim, and even in the Rishonim, how exactly to tie and complete the tying of the Refu'ah, of the Shariad on the hand. What we find in the Talmud is the statement that the Refu'ah should be as long enough to get to the middle finger on the hand. Now the question is, how does it get there? To take the strap directly from one's arm up here, somehow directly down to one's finger, without it being wrapped around the arm in the middle, is not very practicable. It's not going to work. It won't hold. And that is really why we wind it around the arm in the middle. What the Talmud states is that it needs to be on the hand, and you wrap it around the hand or the finger. Now on this note, I should point out that we should ask ourselves, why does the Talmud state that the Ritzu'ah has to reach the finger, the middle finger on the hand? Why is that important? To me, it is clear that the reason is so that you see the Ritzu'ah. I think this is in general the essential reason why we have a long Ritzu'ah, both of the Shariad and the Sharosh. Because really, take the Shariad, why couldn't you just tie some kind of knot on your upper arm and tie it and close it off there? You could have a relatively short Ritzu'ah, a short strap. You wouldn't need all the rest. Why do you need it wrapped around your arm and around your hand? I think, and the same is true for the Sharosh, the head. Why would it be not sufficient to have the Ritzu'ah that goes around the head with the Dala, the Kesher, the knot at the back, and leave it at that? Why do you need to have anything coming down? As mentioned in the Shimush Rabbah, as mentioned in the Rif, this is mentioned in some of the early sources, but you have to ask yourself why. I believe the answer to all of these questions is so that you see the Ritzu'ot all the time, and therefore you are reminded that you're wearing tefillin, in order not to be Masiah Da'at min tefillin. It's all about Hisiah Da'at, in my view. The halakha we know with regards to tefillin is that Asul Hisiah Da'at min tefillin. One should not be wearing tefillin, but forget that one is wearing tefillin. And the whole purpose of the tefillin is that you be aware of them. And if one is wearing them for a long time, during the day, shall we say, if you don't see them, you don't feel them, you can quite easily forget for quite some length of time that you're wearing tefillin. But if you have the Ritzu'ah in plain view on your hand and coming down from the Sharosh, so it's in front of you, you see it, you cannot really miss it. That I think is the reason why even though it's not in the case of the Shalosh, for example, it's not mentioned Bichal in the Talmud that you need to have any length, any long Rathu'ah coming down from the Kesher of the Shalosh. Nevertheless, we all know that's what we do. As I say, it's mentioned in the Shimush Rabbah, it's mentioned in the Rif. And the reason is that we see the Rathu'oth. The Rathu'oth are actually, it's enough to touch the Rathu'ah. If you touch the Rathu'ah, that on your hand or that which comes down from the Shalosh, that's in lieu of touching the actual tefillah itself. In the Gemara, it talks about the Talmidim of the Chachamim in the time of Rav Asher, that they were mashmashim batfilin called sha'ah. In other words, they would regularly touch their tefillin. If you have the Ritzu'ah, it's the same thing. If you touch the Ritzu'ah, if you are aware, you touch it in some way, you look at it, you are preventing Hesed Hadat. And the whole purpose of tefillin is to focus the mind and to be aware of the tefillin, so it should have the correct impact and influence on you. That is the reason for all these things. Exactly how you wrap it around your arm or around your finger does not matter, as long as it's visible, as long as you see it. And if wrapping it around the hand itself, the palm of the hand, the fingers, is bothersome for various reasons, or it constantly becomes undone, and a person prefers to wrap it around the lower part of his arm, but above the wrist, which he also sees, and then that is also acceptable. It's not mamash ma'akev to have it on the finger or the palm of the hand.
Thank you, Rabbi Bar-Hayim. We would like to encourage our viewers to share these videos with friends and send in your responses. We would also like to suggest the following opportunity to our viewers. If you identify with Rabbi Bar-Hayim's message and would like to sponsor or dedicate a video interview with the rabbi in honor or memory of a loved one, if you would like to obtain Birkon Nusach Eretz Yisrael or invite the rabbi for a speaking engagement, please email us at office@machonshilo.org. If you are inspired by Rabbi Bar-Hayim's message and would like to get involved in Torah Eretz Yisrael activities in your local area, please fill out the relevant form by going to the link which appears on the screen.